barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Good morning to all. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. Irrespective of your time zone. In this live Q&A session, we are going to take a benefit from a very nice work of a great scholar of Islam from the Imams of Hadith, which is called Rawdatul Uqala wa Nuzhatul Fudala للإمام الحافظ أبي حاتم محمد بن حبان al-Busti. Ibn Hibban, who died in the year 354, meaning he's of the 4th century, Al-Qarn al-Rabi' al-Hijri, the 4th century. Ibn Hibban, he has a book which is called Rawdatul Uqala, which can be translated or rendered into English to mean the garden of the intellectuals. The garden of the intellectuals. Wa Nuzhatul Fudala, and the picnic of the virtuous. The vacation of the virtuous. I.e. is a book in which the author speaks on the different adab of Islam that are obligatory, that are recommended, that are virtuous. He speaks on the different vices which are to be avoided and shunned. Okay, greed, malice, jealousy, envy, haste, bad company, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. And of course, this book of this author of the 4th century, like the rest of the books of the author and of the great scholars of the people of Hadith, is Musnad, is a book that is quoted with the chains of narration. Haddathana, akhbarana, reported to me, he told me, he related to me, he told us, etc. So the benefit that we're going to take here is on page, in this print, page 235. The author, may Allah have mercy upon him, he says in the chapter, it says, Dhikru Sifat al-Karimi wal-La'imi. He says, the description of the Kareem, someone who is noble, wal-La'im, and someone who is ignoble, someone who has some type of honor, and someone who's mean, who's base, who's low, who isn't a good person, all right, a solid person, a thorough person, right? A mean, low, base type of individual, unfortunately. May Allah help us all. So in this chapter, he speaks on who has the most honor, who is the noblest, and who has the most wickedness, all right, or who is the wickedest, who has the most wickedness. Naam, Allahumma musta'an. So there are many different jewels and gems here. Several different jewels and gems of the honorable person. From that, on page 234, the author says, he quotes different lines of poetry as well as hadiths. وأنشدني ابن زنج البغدادي رأيت الحق يعرفه الكريم لصاحبه وينكره اللئيم وإذا كان الفتى حسنا كريما فكل فعاله حسن كريم وإن ألفيته سمجا لئيما فكل فعاله سمج لئيم. قال أبو حاتم رضي الله عنه الكريم لا يكون حقودا ولا حسودا ولا شامتا ولا باغيا ولا ساهيا ولا لاهيا ولا فاجرا ولا فخورا ولا كاذبا ولا ملولا ولا يقطع إلفه ولا يؤذي إخوانه ولا يضيع الحفاظ ولا يجفو في الوداد يعطي من لا يرجو ويؤمن من لا يخاف ويعفو عن قدره ويصل عن قطيعة. So first and foremost, the first quote is at the beginning of the chapter. Obviously, he quotes the Prophet ﷺ when he was asked, Ayyun nasi akram, who's the most honorable of people, who's the most honorable person. Then he afterwards he quotes some poetry from a man whose name was Ibn Zanji al-Baghdadi. He said, رأيت الحق يعرفه الكريم. He says, I've discovered that the truth يعرفه الكريم is known by the one who's honorable, by the one who's noble. لصاحبه وينكره اللئيم. Okay, the truth, the right, the haqq, for the one who deserves that haqq is known and is acknowledged by the kareem and is rejected by the la'im. All right, so in our culture, this is going to translate to a hater, someone who refuses to accept goodness or thoroughness, or that's cool, that's decent. All right, that's that person's haqq, this entertainer, this artist, this performer, this whatever style, clothes, your car that you're driving. It's a nice car, mashallah. It's really nice, and you worked really hard. You deserve. Nope, la. It's this, it's that, blah 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 blah. Yunkir al haq. Okay, someone who deserves respect. This person, he doesn't respect him for one reason or another. He then says, وَإِذَا كَانَ الْفَتَى حَسَنًا كَرِيمًا فَكُلُّ فِعَالِهِ حَسَنٌ كَرِيمٌ. And if and when a young man is noble, respectable, when he's kareem, all of his deeds will be as such. All of his deeds will be as such. When alfaytahu samijan la'iman, and if you find a young man to be the opposite, meaning, you know, lacking honor, lacking nobility, lacking any type of, good home training, he's just, a mean, low person. For kullu fi'alihi samijun la'imun, then all of his deeds will be as such. All right. The author, he then says that Kareem is not to be someone who is envious, and he isn't someone whose heart is full of rancor and malice. That's the first thing that he mentions. So if you're a hater, if you have envy, if you have malice in your heart against people, that nastiness, then you aren't Kareem. You don't have nobility. You're not an honorable person, unfortunately. ولا شامتا ولا باغيا. He isn't be to someone to uh, uh, throw things into people's faces and causing them injury and agony, right? All right, and just enjoying people to suffer and to feel bad. That's not his way. All right, he isn't to be someone who's absent-minded, sahiyan, always forgetting, lahiyan, void of any type of, he isn't busy with anything, right? He doesn't just sit around and play with his thumbs, to twiddle his thumbs and his fingers. Wala fajiran, nor is he to be someone who's wicked. Wala fakhuran, nor is he to be a show off, and someone who boasts and brags and is full of pride. Wala kadhiban, nor a liar. Wala malulan, nor is he to be someone who gives up and quits and loses his energy and his concentration when he's supposed to be dedicated and devoted to a thing. He's not supposed to give up and to quit and just drop what he's doing. All right. ولا يقطع إلفة, he isn't to stop being a friend. ولا يؤذي إخوانه, nor is he to harm his brothers. All right. To the end of that quote. On the next page, he quotes, he says, أنبأنا محمد بن المهاجر قال حدثنا أحمد بن بكر بن خالد اليزيدي عن قطبة بن العلاء بن المنهال قال سمعت المبارك بن سعيد يقول سمعت الأعمش يقول قال الشعبي إن كرام الناس أسرعهم مودة وأبطأهم عداوة مثل الكوب من الفضة يبطئ الانكسار ويسرع الانجبار وإن لئام الناس أبطأهم مودة وأسرعهم عداوة مثل الكوب من الفخار يسرع الانكسار ويبطئ الانجبار. He then quotes Sha'bi rahimahullah ta'ala from the tabi'een, from the major prominent tabi'een. Sha'bi, he said, in the kiram al-nasi, he said that the most honorable people, the noblest of all people, asra'uhum mawaddatan, are those who show love and affection the quickest. It's the easiest to be their friends, to become friends with them. They show love and they show affection very quickly. وَأَبْطَأُهُمْ عَدَاوَةً, and they are the slowest to show hatred and disaffection. They become friends quickly, they fall in love quickly, they have love, as-sari'a, and their hatred is slow. They don't rush to hate you. They don't rush to break up. They don't rush to disassociate themselves, all right, and cut off their friends, right? They have loyalty. He says, and this is similar to a cup, a gauntlet, or a chalice, right? A glass, or obviously not a glass, but he says a kub, a cup, bismillah. Min al-fidda, that's made of silver, a silver chalice. Yubtu al-inkisar, it takes a very long time, it's very hard to break it, to crack it. وَيُسْرِعُ الْإِنْجِبَارِ, and it's very easy, you can quickly fix it and repair it. You use a little heat, put this together, solder this, boom, 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 next thing you know, it's good to go, as if it's brand new, because of the quality of the metal. And he said, وَإِنَّ لِأَمَ النَّاسِ, and the wickedest of people, the low, base, mean people, they are those أَبْطَأُهُمْ مَوَدَّةً, they take the longest to befriend. It takes them a very long time to have love for someone. وَأَسْرَعُهُمْ عَدَاوَةً, and they hate someone, they disassociate themselves from someone, they just drop somebody very, very, very quickly. All right? And this is like مِثْلُ الْكُوبِ مِنَ الْفَخَّارِ, like a cup made of clay. China, but specifically clay. He says, يُسْرِعُ الْإِنْكِسَارِ, very easily it breaks. You drop it on the floor, you hit it, you bang it, it chips, it breaks, it cracks. وَيُبْتِئُ الْإِنْجِبَارِ, and it takes a long time to fix it, and it's not that easy to fix it. You can't just, solder it or put it back together that simply or that easily like the cup that comes from silver. Now, obviously, there are Islamic rulings with regards to drinking or eating from gold or silver, but that's not the point. The point is the similitude or comparing a human being to material that's tough, but at the same time soft. And this is one of the famous qualities of gold and silver, is that it's a sturdy metal. It can be formed, it can be shaped, it can be heated, it can be melted, it can be smelted, but at the same time it isn't super, super hard and difficult to mold and difficult to manipulate and to fabricate. So just think about those two extremes now. A person takes a very long time to show you love, and it takes a very short period of time to show you hatred. That is a sign of nobility, or the opposite, the sign of what? Lack of nobility and lack of honor, according to Ash-Shabi. قال أبو حاتم رضي الله عنه: الكريم من أعطاه شكره، ومن منعه عذره، ومن قطعه وصله، ومن وصله فضله، ومن سأله أعطاه، ومن لم يسأله ابتدأه، وإذا استضعف أحدا رحمه، وإذا استضعفه أحد رأى الموت أكرم له منه، ولئيم بضد ما وصفنا من الخصال كلها. The author, Hafidh bin Hanban, may Allah have mercy upon him, his kunya, Abu Hatim, he says, the Kareem is one, when you give him something, shakarahu, he thanks you. Shukran, jazakallahu khairan, I appreciate that, thank you. وَمَنْ مَنَعَهُ أَذَرَهُ, and if you didn't give him, if you said I can't, or no, I can't, he makes an excuse for you. Maybe he's this, maybe he's that, maybe he's going through something, maybe. He makes an excuse for someone who doesn't give him. وَمَنْ قَطَعَهُ وَصَلَ, and those who cut him off, he tries to keep relations with them. وَمَنْ وَصَلَهُ فَضَّلَهُ, and those who try to keep relations with him, he makes them better than he is. فَضَّلَهُ, he gives them precedence. وَمَنْ سَأَلُ أَعْطَاهُ, and when you ask him for something, he gives it to you. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْأَلْهُ ابْتَدَأَهُ, and those who don't ask him, he offers them. Think about that now. You ask me for some tea, go ahead, tafaddal. You don't ask me for tea, bismillah, would you like something to drink, akhi? Go ahead. He initiates the generosity. وَإِذَا اسْتَضْعَفَ أَحَدًا رَحِمَهُ, and when he sees that someone is weaker than him, lesser than him, he's merciful. He doesn't exploit. He doesn't take advantage of them. وَإِذَا اسْتَضْعَفَهُ أَحَدٌ, And when someone sees or believes or knows that he is weaker than them, they look down upon him. رَأَى الْمَوْتَ أَكْرَمَ لَهُ مِنْهُ. He sees that death is better. Death is more honorable. Death before dishonor. Right? Physically weak, but not mentally and spiritually. I'd rather die before I sell my values and before I give up and quit and do away with the honor that Allah has given me. Think about how deep that is and how applicable that is today. Death before dishonor. وَاللَّئِيمُ, and he says, and the wretched, wicked, low, base, mean individual is the one who's the exact opposite. Everything that we mentioned, he's the exact opposite. You give him, he doesn't thank you. You ask him, he says no, so on and so forth. So that's food for thought. Definitely a book to check out. Rawdatul Uqala. My poor memory, I believe. No, I'm not too sure if this book is translated into English or not. That's another book that's translated by the author. I'm not sure if this book is in English, but if it was translated, inshallah, it would be a good addition to the Islamic library, a great addition. And if you have the book in Arabic, read it, study it, teach it, maybe give classes from it. A beautiful work from an imam who lived and died almost, if not almost for sure, almost 1,000 years ago. So it's a great piece of history, classic working right now. Wallahu ta'ala alam, jazakumullah khairan. Let's see if we have any questions today. And FYI, once again, making things clear, the flip reverse camera is going to show me drinking with my left hand, but in actuality I'm drinking with my right hand. And this little simple basic issue goes to show what we just read, is that a wretched person, a scumbag, excuse my French if that's a bad word or politically incorrect word, a scumbag, a low person, is going to be someone that's going to rush to find fault and to criticize. The brother's drinking with his left hand. You fake mufti. Oh, why are you drinking with your left hand? Oh, astaghfirullah, you're drinking with your left hand. Instead of making an excuse. Maybe the brother believes it's permissible to drink with the left hand, like most of the scholars. Not saying that's right or wrong, but maybe he has that view. Or maybe his right hand is broken or injured. Maybe he's left-handed. Maybe he's a southpaw. Maybe it's hard for him to drink with his right. Maybe something is wrong. Or maybe the camera is flipped around. Instead of rushing, saying that drinking with the left hand, astaghfirullah, this is a basic teaching of Islam. Like that's the manifestation of everything that we just read. The noble person is going to rush to make an excuse. Maybe the sheikh's tired. Maybe. Not a wicked person. So we ask Allah to protect us from that. First question says, حياك الله كالف باشا بارك الله فيكم أهلا وسهلا حبيبي أحبك الذي أحببتني فيه جزاكم الله خيرا. Inshallah, hopefully I see you soon, huh? Bidnillahi ta'ala. Saturday, inshallah. KA from Manchester, UK. Sheikh, could you please explain the hadith when Abu Bakr gave away all of his money and said he left Allah and his Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam for his family? Can we do this? Jazakallah khairan. The hadith is clear. I gave all of my sadaqah. I gave everything for Allah and I left Allah and his Messenger for my family. Allah is al-Wakil. He will take care of them. He will provide for them. Can you give all of your sadaqah? You can, if you have the necessary sabr for when you might need that money. But if you've reached that level of tawakkul and that level of yaqeen and that level of trust and reliance in Allah, bismillah. That's a high station and a very commendable act. Wallahu alam. KA Manchester, UK. If a Qur'ani says that the Qibla before Mecca was known to be Jerusalem because it was following Ahlul Kitab did, what is the next step response from the Muslims? Jazakallahu khairan. Well, first and foremost is it lawful, is it a good thing to call someone who rejects the hadith and says that Islam is just the Quran, is it okay to call them a Qur'ani? Is calling someone a Qur'ani an honorific title or a derogatory title? Then obviously someone's going to say, well, Sheikh Fulan said this. He said that some of the pious predecessors called the people Qur'aniyun, etc. Allahu alam. I'm not going to call them Qur'anis because the word Qur'an itself is a holy word. It's a sacred Islamic term that shouldn't be given to someone who's doing something which is extremely unholy and anti-Islamic. So I'm not too comfortable with calling those people Qur'anis. And the same applies to others. A luti, a homosexual, a sodomite, a bugger. I'm not going to call them a luti. And that's because Lut alayhi salatu wasalam is a prophet of Allah. Why would I call a man who sodomizes or sodomized by another man, who sleeps with another man, who finds love with a man in the name of one of Allah's prophets? That's a bit, right? Doesn't make sense, right? And the same applies to, and one may differ or disagree with me, a qadari, calling someone a qadari, someone who rejects the qadr. Qadr is from the deen. That's a sacred term. That's an Islamic term. He has a deviant aqidah rejecting the qadr, and you attribute to him that honorific term or title. And of course, that sect is well known. With the Salaf al-Salih, يعني رمي بالإرجاء رمي بالقدر. We know what they mean by that. But to make that a systematic title, Allahu Alam. And the same applies to today, calling someone a jihadi. Someone, for argument's sake, not getting too rough on the live stream, Caliph Basha, you see the problem we were talking about? Someone, let's say, and I quote, for argument's sake, who has some mistakes in his understanding of jihad fi sabilillah, some big mistakes, and some mispractices concerning jihad fi sabilillah. And let's say, for argument's sake, he has some extremism, fi'lan, in reality, concerning jihad fi sabilillah. All right, some big errors. To call this person a jihadi, jihad is what type of term? Islamic or un-Islamic? Quranic or not? It's a Quranic term. That's an honorific term. So we're calling someone who has strayed from the correct way with the honorific term. I don't know about that. And the same applies to, of course, Wahhabi. And that's a great trick of the shaitan. You're calling someone who you consider to be deviant, killing Muslims, slaughtering Muslims, destroying the ummah, destroying everything, and you give him, you ascribe him to one of Allah's names, Al-Wahhab. Not really making too much sense. So, yeah, that's food for thought. Wallahu alam. At the end of the day, the answer concerning that, inshallah, is very simple and very easy. And that is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He legislates what He wants to. He legislates what He wants to. The Qibla was in one direction at one point in time, and Allah changed it for wisdoms that He knows, and for mercy upon His ummah. And Allah clearly answers the question, why we changed the Qibla, why we chose to make the Qibla to a different direction, and how there will be those who would reject and turn away and find fault. The people who have illnesses in their hearts of the Munafiqun and of the Jews of Medina, what they would say, what the pagans would say. Muhammad was confused. If he was previously facing Jerusalem and it was changed to Mecca, then that means he was upon falsehood, and then for you were following him. Allah mentions all of that, and he refutes all of that. So anyone who makes that argument is going to fall in the category of those people of the Munafiqun, of the Yahud, the envious Jews who hid the truth, who distorted the truth, who rejected Muhammad because of reasons that they weren't supposed to, reject him. There was no excuse to reject him. And that just goes to show you the evil of the people who reject the hadiths. And of course, as we've explained before, you can't make sense out of that Quranic story without the hadiths. Like so many other Quranic stories and passages, which clearly shows the kufr of those who reject hadiths whole scale. Those who say that there are no hadiths in Islam, Islam is just the Quran, they are not Quranis, they are kuffar. They are kafirs, they're infidels, they're apostates. They are not Muslims if they say that Islam is just the Quran. They've made kufr akbar. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question says, K.A. Manchester, AA from London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. ورحمة الله وبركاته. أستاذ، من فوائد الرحلة في طلب العلم الحديث. جزاك الله خيرا. يعني أنت تسأل عن هذه الفوائد ولا كيف؟ IH from London, UK. When praying in congregation at the masjid, can I make dua in my head without moving my tongue while in sujood in English because I can't ask for what I want in Arabic? You have a few options, inshallah. Some scholars say that you can make dua in your prayer outside of Arabic. I would prefer for you to keep all du'as in Arabic. And if you want to make a dua with your heart or your head or your consciousness in the prayer, maybe. But obviously the prayer is you're supposed to verbalize things in the salah. You're supposed to verbalize things, right? So I think you should learn what you want to say in Arabic, and if not, memorize a prophetic supplication that generally covers what you're asking for. Wallahu ta'ala alam. AA from London, UK. Ways to discourage the youth from wasting time. Oftentimes you can't. Those who know seldom need to be told. And those who need to be told seldom listen. So, common sense, the most precious thing you have in your life, you need to be advised about. But for argument's sake, take them to the graveyard. Take them to the graveyard. Show them the graves. And if they're caught up in sports, then show them how a career can be cut short with an injury. How fast people will forget a player when he has a bad game or a bad season. Right? Wallahu alam. IH, London, UK. When exactly and for how long should you raise your finger during tashahhud? What's the strongest opinion? It's an option to do in the salah, whether you start in the beginning or whether you raise it at the time of the kalima of tawheed. Wallahu ta'ala alam, is an option. And there are different details with regards to raising the finger. Is it to be moved and wiggled, kept straight, clenched, flipped like this, like that, so on and so forth? Options. KA from Manchester, UK. If someone is afflicted with a jinn situation, how desperate should they be to rid themselves of it? For example, how much time should they spend per day doing ruqya on themselves? Based off of the need. If it's a bad situation and the person is possessed, then it's urgent. It's an emergency. And they need to spend as much time as that urgent emergency requires. Wallahu alam. Question is coming from RH Sharjah, UAE. Assalamu alaikum. Ahsanallahu ilayk. Is there a difference between narrating from Ahl al-Bid'ah and taking knowledge from them? With evidences, please. Barakallahu fikum. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan. I would advise you to go back to the lecture we did some years ago in Philadelphia at the Imam Muslim Family Center, Stop the Fitna. Go back to that lecture, and we explained many different points with proofs and evidences with regards to that. The brief answer now, and maybe this will be our last question now, is there a difference between narrating hadiths and taking knowledge from them? Well, I think anyone who claims that there is a difference or there isn't a difference, he's going to be stuck on a glue trap. So if you say you can't take anything from the people of innovations today, and of course, who is an innovator? Who's from the people of innovations? That in itself is a messy cesspool. Literally, that's a cesspool right there. That's a landfill of garbage. Who is and who isn't an innovator? You don't like me, you're an innovator. You sit here, you went there, you went to Dunkin' Donuts instead of Krispy Kreme, you're an innovator. Me and your friends were buddies, you didn't do, you're an innovator. That's a long discussion of who's innovation, who's a person of innovation, how people just, play an immature game of tag or musical chairs with being a deviant. So we're not going to waste time on that. But for argument's sake, someone is from the people of innovations, can you take knowledge from them? Obviously, someone is going to say, of course not. Haram, stay away from them. You can't. This verse says this hadith says that, the Salaf said this, stay away from them, don't take anything from them. Beautiful. And then that's party A. Party B is going to come along and say, well, wait a second. In this book, Fulan was from the Khawarij. He's Qadari. He's Murji. He's Shi'i. He was this. And these narrators are full of volume 1 of Sahih al-Bukhari. Isn't Sahih al-Bukhari the most authentic book of hadith? Imam Ahmad took from this one, Fulan. Whoa, wait a second. Nasai was accused of this. They boycotted Bukhari. Whoa. So it's going to be a problem, right? And then party A is going to say, well, no, that's different. That's taking hadiths, not learning knowledge. See the contradiction? What's the difference between I want to sit with you and learn something? Isn't knowledge hadith? And isn't hadith knowledge? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Okay? So it's going to be a contradiction. All right? So that's what I would say. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Question says, initials AM from Amsterdam, Netherlands. When you know someone doesn't pray and you'd like to advise them, but they argue, and basically everyone does what they feel, how to act wisely and how to know if I'm extreme. No, that's from Shaitan, absolutely. Someone that's not praying is from Shaitan. You gotta pray. It's not an option. It isn't a choice. You must pray. It says Allah's haqq upon you. No matter what you're going through in your life, you have to pray. Stressed, depressed, in jail, tired, hungry, divorced, you have to make the salah. End of discussion. And if you don't, then you're playing a dangerous game. You're a dangerous juggling act with your deen. All right? That's the bottom line. And you're not being extreme for advising someone to pray. That is an extreme. RH from London, UK, if, for example, Fajr starts at 5, when is the best time to pray tahajjud and make dua to ask Allah for what you want? Also, should you wake up for the prayer or can you stay awake? There are different levels of night prayer. There are different levels. There is all night. There is all of the night with exceptions to little, a third of the night, a sixth of the night, a half of the night, the last third of the night. If you want to divide the night into 3 pieces, that last third, etc. So you have to pick and choose what's best for you. In general, the best time to pray at night is Jawful Layl, is the wee hours, Bubil Ashar, the wee hours of the night shortly before Fajr. All right? Now, sleeping, getting up for Fajr, going to work, going to school, you have a wife, children, whatever other worldly responsibilities, you have to prioritize and you have to manage and balance with regards to sleeping, fasting, praying, so on and so forth. Now, I would advise you to take small steps. You build up momentum until you become strong enough to do that. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Questions come from Khair, inshallah. We'll stop here today. Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah bless each and every one of you. Shout out to all the disciples worldwide, UK, Senegal. Jazakallah khairan for the beautiful, kind words. May Allah bless you all, protect you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.